Welcome to the April 9th, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast of what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And totally not Dracologist. I just replaced him.
I don't know. Yeah, this is just some other podcast. I think it's Old Man Stompy. He said he wouldn't be on this week, but I mean, who else could it be?
Who else could you be?
Let's talk about wrestling
honestly.
a lot for 5 hours in lunch.
I don't know if anybody could accurately replicate your voice if they tried. To be
I thought you were gonna say replicate Old Man Stompy's wrestling coverage, because I was gonna say he told me one time there was this I don't remember what the podcast was, but there was this one super Dark Souls fan on it, and one time that guy wasn't on, and the other two people had very rudimentary understanding of Dark Souls, and they tried just for a joke just talking about Dark Souls the whole time, and they were just bullshitting half of what they said. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, some interesting stuff did happen in wrestling this week, and I believe WrestleMania is going on right now as we speak.
Yeah, while we're recording, yes.
But I'll let Old Man Stompy take the reins on that one next week, because I'm sure there will be a lot to talk about. The main event is probably happening as we record this, and there was some interesting stuff with Bret Hart
yes.
yesterday as of this recording on Saturday. So it's stuff that bled into the real world outside of wrestling proper.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll give some time to that. I'll want him to talk about it, but man, interesting.
Yes.
The first thing I want to talk about this week in regards to what happened is I do want to do reactions to April Fools, because that was definitely something that happened as our recording went up. So I do want to clear the air on these things, just in case you were wondering how they played out. So first of all, I do have to say that thankfully, R-Type Final is a real product being worked on, and it was just bad timing.
Or R-Type Final 2.
R-Type Final 2, I'm sorry. R-Type Final 2 is a real game and a real product, and I'm very happy to say so. That means that 2 IREM games have the possibility of coming out this year or next, or within this next 2 years, and that's great. That's the most that the IREM's put out in a really long time. So I'm very happy to see that. There aren't very many classic series shmups that are still released this day and age. A lot of them are re-releases, that kind of thing. So I'm always very happy to see. Probably the last mainstream classic series shmup that was released before this was R-Type Final, not R-Type Final, Raiden 5 Director's Cut.
Raiden is the shoot 'em up game that had a long running.
Yeah,
aside from
Donpachi
Toho project, but R-Type is a little bit different. Most of these are sort of very arcade shoot 'em up or bullet hells, and R-Type is a genre of its own.
I would call it almost a puzzle shooter because of the way you have to position the core.
What is it called? Force
Pod. Force Pod. I'm sorry, Force Pod. Yeah, you're right. But I've been a big fan of that series for a very long time. I have loved every single home entry of that series. I think the 3 arcade only entries have been very, very difficult, so I don't like them as much. That's R-Type 1 and 2, and Leo is a little bit easier, so that one's a little bit better. But R-Type 3 is probably my favorite in the series, and Delta's a fantastic game, and so is Final.
Which one was there was an R-Type Tactics, wasn't there?
Yeah, the PSP game. Yeah, there's actually 2 of them. One we got in English, and the other we got a fan translation of. The second one is called R-Type Tactics 2 Operation Bitter Chocolate.
Bitter chocolate is good for your stomach, I think.
To be fair, it's supposed to be a code name, so there's no way the enemy's going to know what you're planning.
Your enemy are weird alien things, so I'm not sure they care.
Yeah, it was like a hex-based strategy game, really. When off the deep end in terms of concept, but it was pretty good. And of course they made a sequel, so that was one of the last games Irem released. So yeah.
I want to ask one thing about Wise. Like, if you know R-Type, have you ever seen Keitakis?
What is that?
It was a Commodore 64 game that was you really
I have, yeah.
Oh, you've actually seen that? I was just about to say, like, America didn't really latch on to the Amiga and Commodore 64.
No, that was in the Hardcore Gaming 101 article. And there's a famous pair of, like, robotic arms in the first level of R-Type that don't move. They don't have any articulation, but they look cool. And in that game, they actually move.
Wow.
Which one is that? Thinking. I'm currently trying to think of which one. Which. This is a boss fight.
There's Polestar. That's a game that was made by like the old Irem team when they went to the Neo Geo arcade. That's pretty cool. And then there's Ducks and Redux. Those are games that are kind of like it as well.
Keitakis was made by like Rainbow something. I don't remember.
I'm sure it was made in Europe. I'm absolutely sure it's made in Europe.
I can recommend the music. Chris Hulsbeck is an absolute fantastic composer for the C64.
The C64 just has volumes of great music that even the bad games have great music.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've mentioned this before, but like Weird Dreams, that game's virtually unplayable, but like, damn, it's pretty rocking on both the Amiga and the Commodore 64. It's the same tunes, but they sound very different with the instrumentals, and Commodore 64 has insane drum behind it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The Amiga had very similar sound chip to the Genesis, so if you like that style of FM synthesis, Amiga, you're going to like that.
Like, the Commodore 64 used the SID, which was a 3-track music system, and the Amiga music, I think, used similar track system called mods. Like, it's modular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're right.
Like, I have both mod tracks, and I have almost all C64 game music.
Nice.
Yeah. More. Well, we should move on because we do have a fair amount of other things that we need to talk about here in terms of news. So, and I will. We suspected that this was a fake thing because of the way Sega was treating it, but the Yakuza announcement was definitely an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, not the Yakuza itself, but like the video you were talking about last time, where you're fighting with like Persona style like options, like a turn-based RPG in all of the battle encounters, which was pretty silly.
Yeah.
It looked like the video had what probably was real, like, heat action moves or something with crazy stuff happening, because Yakuza gets ridiculous with that sometimes, but the fact that you're picking from a menu and you're like, that's the one I want, that was just so bizarre.
Yeah, I really enjoyed... let me see here. There was also one by WayForward. Did you see that one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so WayForward does a pretty obvious April Fool's joke every single year, where they put silhouettes of, hey, guess what license we just cleared and are working on.
And it's going to be something stupid like Halo, like there's no way.
Well, no, it clearly looks like an iconic character, and then they like fill in the silhouette the next day, and it's just like goofy shit that's in the shape of the silhouette. So like they have one
like those Who's That Pokemon jokes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it clearly looked like Earthworm Jim, so people were like, oh man, an Earthworm Jim by them, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I can see WayForward picking up an IP like that.
Yeah, nah.
Before you continue, who's WayForward?
They're the Shantae people.
Yeah.
They're the aren't they also the DuckTales remastered people?
Yes. And they've done quite a lot of other IPs as well. Boy and His Blob.
That was them. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but that totally makes sense.
A lot of the people that worked on their games moved over to Yacht Club to work on Shovel Knight. So there's some lineage there. There's quite a. They worked on Contra 4.
Nice.
Geez, they've worked on a ton of stuff.
Was Contra 4 the DS game?
Correct.
Okay.
They worked on a lot of like the Metroidvania like style. They worked on a Flash game. Like the Flash, not not the programming
Oh, the
language or whatever.
superhero, the Flash.
Yeah. It was like a GBA beat 'em up.
Oh wow, jeez, I never heard of this.
They actually made Blood Rain Betrayal and Double Dragon Down.
Wait, Bloodblade Betrayal, was that the beat 'em up?
Yes.
Yes.
That was, I couldn't believe that existed.
They made the Mummy game demastered, which was very good.
Yeah, that was hilarious
that
just because the movie was like universally panned, and that's
the game was good.
Now for a game based on the movie, like, oh good, but it's it's barely based on the movie. Like, it exists in the same universe, I guess, but it looks really cool.
You know what it reminds me of? X vs. Sever. There were 2 good GBA games based on it, and it's one of the worst reviewed movies ever made.
What was the full name of that movie? It was like something : X vs. Sever?
Yeah, I forget.
It wasn't Triple X, was it?
No.
That was like the Vin Diesel movies.
X vs. Sever.
That was like Ballistic X. It's like the most early 2000s name anyone could ever possibly come up with. ECKS versus Sever. Like, it sounds like 90s Image Comics. Who's the main character of this comic? Oh, it's Blood Death or whatever, some bullshit name. It's great.
Yeah, so
Bloodshot, I guess, is a more realistic one.
I'm gonna go over the silhouettes that they had.
Yeah.
They had one that clearly looked like a piranha plant, from the Mario series.
Yeah.
One that looked like Pac-Man with like a pellet, Sackboy, and Pikachu, and they all like are goofy looking bullshit when they fill them in.
Nice.
So, like. It's just they look so goofy, and none of this is real. It's just like the Pikachu is clearly a like an owl on top of a nest. Like it's just like really goofy shit. The Pac-Man one is like a pirate on a ship that like looks like it's curved. It's so goofy, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, like even Pokemon themselves lampooned that concept once, where I think they had a picture of like a Voltorb. It was like a sphere, and they're like, oh, that's obvious. And then they're like, nope, it's something's head, like seen from above, and there's no way you could possibly guess that. It was great. What was it?
It's a Jigglypuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Jigglypuff's pretty round. Yeah, Jigglypuff seen from above. Like, oh, bullshit. Like, it was great.
Is it Gengar or is it Clefairy or whatever?
No, actually, you know which one really did get me that wasn't even a joke was Ghastly, because I'd never really considered what Silhouette looks like, and it just looks like a mess. It's just like a gas cloud with a bunch of shit drawn all over the screen. I'm like, what could that possibly be? It's like Ghastly. Like, oh, I guess.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! God damn it!
God damn it!
I love that. Yeah, so I just linked in the chat here, just so people know what's going on behind the scenes, what the silhouettes are and what they turned out to be.
Nice.
Just so you can see in the chat. It's so funny. But yeah, this happened on Twitter. But they do this every year, so it's very
it's not
much
even gonna mess with people.
It's not fooling anybody.
Actually, you know which one I kind of liked? There was a sort of reverse April Fool's joke. Did you see what BioWare did?
No.
Oh, BioWare like redeemed an older April Fool's joke. Like in some years past, maybe even last year, I don't know what year, they had like made a fake product for sale, which was it was going to be a body pillow of one of the Mass Effect characters.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
But this year they're like, no, we're doing it for real this time, and it was like, oh, okay. So there it is. Like that kind of is the joke that they're really doing.
It's a Dragon Age character, wasn't it?
Oh, was it Dragon? Maybe it was Dragon Age.
Yeah, it was Dragon Age
they're like,
character.
no, we're really doing it for real, and people were like, oh, well, okay. So that was kind of cool.
Checking off the boxes.
Yeah. Actually, probably my favorite April Fool's joke was just the title of a link, because when you click on
Age Gamer one.
Yeah, like when you click on it, it was just a stupid Rickroll, and those things are so tired. But like the title of the link was, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy who makes the Super NT and the Mega SG, like the FPGA console guy. It's like he acknowledges that Polymega's consoles are like higher quality than his. I was freaking dying. That's the funniest thing. Because Polymega is kind of like constantly wrapped up in scandal with making promises that there's no way they can keep, or they're just impossibly slow. Like they're the kind of people who want like a sort of Retron-like console that could take, like, everything, but there's no fucking way. And, like,
it's definitely vaporware. It's,
yeah,
it's
it was
something
just
that
really,
they're working on, but they keep making promises that they can't keep. And,
yeah, it was just really funny
bullshit
to see. Even just the link you could click on of, like, the Super NT guys, like, yeah, their stuff is better. That was so funny to me.
Yeah, and the Stone Age gamer system was really funny as well.
Oh, I think I saw that. What was it again?
I think they called it the SAG box.
Oh yeah, it was like the stupidest controller known to man.
And they called it the SAG box because Stone Age gamer.
Ugh. It just sounds really terrible.
Yeah, it sounds vaguely innuendo-esque.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's just like, everything was lame. The controller was shit. It looked like one of those remote controllers
like
with a dumb shape. Yeah.
It looked like a bop-it. Yeah,
pass
like
it.
Almost like a bop-it. Yeah. So, yeah, those were my favorites. I don't know if Dracologist, you know of any other ones out there.
I try to avoid April Fools.
Well, there was...
It tends to be people trying to do the obviously bad type of pranks.
Well, yeah,
the one that you can see from miles away, and it's not funny, and it's...
Yeah, a lot of the social media April Fool's jokes I see are like, I'm displaying the opposite of what I normally believe, like, on the political spectrum, and then they're like, actually, I'm not. Like, I fucking know.
It's not funny. Yeah,
and it's not even like it's offensive, it's just like, not funny. It's just like a good one. No, I will say, though, there was one more April Fool's joke that was not a joke, like the BioWare thing, which was from Limited Run Games. They announced that they were doing, like, a Frog Fractions 2 big box physical.
And that is something that the Two Beard Productions would do to be funny.
Yeah, so, like, I saw that in the early morning, and I was like, that's kind of funny. And then later in the afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I just happened to be checking my email at, like, a couple of minutes after 6, and I got on one of those automated bot emails, like, the second wave is out. I'm like, we're still doing this? And then I clicked on the link, and it looked like I could buy it. And then I clicked on the buy thing, and no, I could really pay for it. I'm like, they actually fucking did it? It was really funny.
Yeah, we LP'd the first one, how many years ago now at this point?
I think it was never years ago.
Oh, we never LP'd it?
We regular P'd it.
We regular P'd it. Gross.
At one point, I came over to your place and tried LPing it, but, like, Fraps refused to cooperate.
OBS,
yeah, I think, would be...
we had to play it within the web browser.
Yeah,
I think,
OBS, I think, would work, but we just never tried again.
That's a shame, because that isn't in our wheelhouse for our co-op LPs.
Yeah, that is, like, Fucker in the Woods level of freaking stupid, and we
should do it again, because it should be pretty fresh, like, since we haven't played it in a long time.
Oh, what was cool about the big box PC release, by the way... Oh, and for anyone who's interested, at the time I'm recording this, so by the time you hear it, it's freaking 2 days later, so who even knows? But as I record this, I think it's still available, because people are far less interested in PC releases for limited run games than they are in console. But
I think we both have ordered both PC games that they have, right? Silver Case was the other one.
Well, there was actually a third. It was a much older one, which was Octodad 2, Deadliest Catch.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing with their PC releases is that they're usually more over the top in terms of collector's editions than most of their regular releases. Like, Octodad came with a freaking tie. Silver Case came with, like, a soundtrack and, like, a bunch of extra swag.
But no Silver Case. That was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, not even one Silver Case.
Isn't the Silver Case a Suda51 game?
Yes. It's the one that was recently released for PS4 and Steam. Well, I mean, recently. At this point, it's been a year or two, but yes. I'm excited
Actually,
about...
we're coming up on 6 months probably from the sequel being released.
Nice. But what I was going to say about the Frog Fractions 2 is that I think it comes with some stuff. It's like an actual big box PC release and not like a DVD case release. But one thing I thought was kind of clever is that they have an extra slipcover, so you can. It's like you can't exactly do reversible art on a big box PC game like you could do on a console release. So they have like an alternate slipcover that's like that, whatever it was called, that like glitter forest or whatever, like
Glitter Mitten Grove.
Yeah, like the game Grove that Frog Fractions 2 is hidden in. So if you want to have a Glitter Mitten Grove cover, you can do that, which I thought was pretty amusing.
Yeah, for people that don't remember this, we talked about this on the web the podcast like
a while back.
But we were really excited for Frog Fractions 2, and there was like an ARG going on, an alternate reality game where people were like trying to like solve it because the developer was like hiding all the shit in other people's games, and like it even involved like a ROM, like a GBA ROM with like
hysterical.
Clues on it. Yeah, like really crazy shit. And what ended up happening was they said, "Oh, Frog Fractions 2 is canceled. Sorry, guys, we're not putting it out." And people were like, "Oh man, like who knows if he's telling the truth or not? They're so weird it could be canceled. Like you you never know." And then they were like, "But we have this game, and it's Glitter Hidden Grove," and people are like, "Well, fuck this. I guess we'll play it." And it happened to have like Frog Fractions 2 hidden in it, but like when you get to the end of the game, it says Frog Fractions 3.
Yeah, so they gave you the next Frog Fractions game, but technically it's not 2 because they didn't call it 2
because
they're a bunch of assholes. It's just freaking hysterical. It's so good.
It's like they did that with the Leisure Suit Larry games. They just came out with like an extra one.
Oh
like,
yeah, they keep referring to Leisure Suit Larry. I think it was like 4, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, they call it the Lost Discs. I
guess.
It's
pretty like it's just like a running gag. Like there is no 4. There's a 5, 6, and 7, but there's no 4.
There's one game that I think it's some Solar Sierra Games reference to when you found it like in the dumps or something.
Nice.
Oh, hey,
yeah, maybe as a nod or something. I could see them doing that where you can't actually play it. Oh, speaking of Sierra, like meta stuff like that, one of my favorite Sierra jokes, even though it would make me pull out my hair if I played it like when it came out, but in one of the Space Quest games, you can go to like the master computer and shut down the super AI. It's like the one of the last things you do in the game. But when you log into the computer program and you see a bunch of just programs you could delete, one of them is the name of the game you're playing, like Space Quest whatever it is, like 2 or 3 or something, maybe 4. It might have been a point and click, so it might have been the icon. It might have been Space Quest 4. And if you click the Space Quest 4 icon and drag it into the trash, it just force quits the game. It's like, oh no!
Nice.
Well, we should move on here.
One more thing, just for Sierra. If you want to tear out your hair, I would recommend Manhunter.
Manhunter?
Yes.
I don't know that one.
There is a two-episode game called Manhunter New York and Manhunter Los Angeles, I think.
Huh.
You should look it up. I highly recommend it.
All right.
Is that one of the
Tex Fest?
Isn't that one of the Tex Murphy games?
That doesn't sound familiar. I don't think so.
Wanted to say quick, but it's a Roberto Williams game.
Okay, well, we'll have to definitely check that out. I did want to talk about a few other things here. So this is a surprise. I did not expect this to come to the U.S. because it's very embarrassing, but it's also kind of timely. We've talked about this, the subject quite a few times in the last month or so. But there is going to be a new Senran Kagura game. This was released in Japan, but I never expected to get a U.S. release. This is called Senran Kagura Peach Ball. Have you guys taken a look at this?
I think I clicked a link, but I already forgot what it was.
So not only is it a Senran Kagura game, with its regular booby kind of thing going on, but the girls have been turned into cat girls.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And it's a pinball game where you have to, you basically are stripping them down by hitting them with a pinball.
That's so bizarre. That's right. I didn't know that was what the context was. I just remember Cat Girls, and it's a pinball game, and I was like, a fucking pinball center on Kagura?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really like pinball, and
so you love this.
I really
You're tempted.
Day one buy.
I'm kind of a boob guy, but this is not what I want at all.
I don't understand. It sounds like those two things put together. It's the perfect blend of video gaming elements.
This is one of the most, like, I would be very embarrassed if anybody, like, of outside of this conversation found out that I owned this, if I owned it. Yeah, like, it's almost as bad as owning the Galgun Special Edition, unfortunately, which I have. The Galgun 2 Special Edition.
I had that, but I actually finally sold it because I realized...
I'm gonna sell it.
Like, yeah, well, it's actually pretty expensive at this point, too. But, like, I realized, like... Whenever I have trouble thinking of a game to play, like, I'm never going to come back and be like, you know what, that's the one. This is the one I really want to play right now. Like, I just didn't see... Like, I got it because
it was
a limited edition, and, like, it was going to disappear, but then I'm like, wait. Like, it's kind of like Night Trap. I got the collector's edition from Limited Run Games, but then I'm like, wait, Night Trap isn't a good game, though. So I just kind of have it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my feeling on this stuff. I mean... Most of the Senran Kagura games are actually pretty good, but like I said, this is
so pinball.
So
it's
embarrassing.
Like perfect. No, it's great.
It's so embarrassing. I guess I'm glad for the people that want it, but this is coming out in the U.S. and in Europe, and in the U.S. it's getting a limited print. Not a limited run games one, but a limited print run of its physical edition.
You know what I find strange though is the cat girl thing. Like,
yeah,
that's just an extra step for Senran Kagura.
Yeah,
just putting a cherry on top of a heap of cherries.
I mean, touche.
They're like, oh well, you know that one finish you have that we already checked off the box for. Yeah, we're gonna add another, and it's gonna be way weirder.
I saw what that SNK Heroes fighter did, and I want to try it too.
Yeah. So yeah, not my bag, but
also like people were actually bringing this to my attention from other Discord channels, and you guys speaking of booby games, you guys heard of Subverse?
What is it?
I don't think so.
Okay, should we delve into this or should we avoid it like hellfire?
Well, I don't know what the context is, so I can't answer that.
It's made. There is some sort of developer which is famous for making rather saucy games.
Maybe we could get into that topic like in a wider discussion, but we got plenty to talk about here.
Well, the next thing is something that Vice actually likes for real.
Yeah, no, this is low-key made me super happy this week. So Donkey Kong 3 Arcade Archives got released on the Nintendo Switch without an announcement or anything. Just like basically like a Twitter announcement the day or two before.
And you know what this means, by the way? Now you don't have to wait for MagFest to play this game.
I mean... That was always a fun thing to do because there was always a few dedicated people that came every year to play it. So I'm really excited for this game. So I have to explain a little bit of my history with it. This is probably my favorite arcade game of all time. And Donkey Kong 3, yeah. And
the weird one.
It's an unusual choice. It is an unusual choice. And it's an unusual, and people mostly make fun of it because it is so different from Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. that they just make fun of it as a bad game, but it's not a bad game at all.
Well, it's like the really Zelda 2 of Donkey Kong.
I wouldn't even call that, because Zelda 2 has some really bad design decisions.
Well, Zelda 2 is some bullshit in a lot of places, but like how far did its detractors really get though? Like, I think they were like, this is not Zelda.
Yeah, it would be a more apt comparison to say it's a really good game, but, like, why? Like, you know, yeah, but,
this is one of the games that the Rare video games series covered.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of this game. It is a shmup. In the line of, like, maybe Galaga or Galaxian.
I can see that, yeah.
It has platforming elements. It is not a platformer like Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. are. And it has elements of, something like Diner Dash, where you're it's like a time management game almost, because you have to keep making sure that you attack Donkey Kong so he doesn't climb all the way down and kill you.
Yeah.
So the game has a lot of depth, because there are a lot of ways in which the game can be lost but also won. That's very unusual for the time.
You know, in regard to having to keep shooting so Donkey Kong doesn't finally get to you and kill you, it's not quite the same, but it's almost like, I forgot what the game is called, like Taps, or that beer tap game? You know?
Yeah, no, you are 100% correct. So that is, I would call that the first major mainstream time management arcade game.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you hit one person and they're gone. It's just that they keep coming. With Donkey Kong, it's only the one Donkey Kong, but you have to shoot him many times.
So
while you have to deal with other insects and other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So I should explain how the game is played. Donkey
Tapper.
Kong,
it was called Tapper, wasn't it?
Yeah. Beer Tapper, Root Beer Tapper, Tapper. That's all the same thing.
Yeah.
So Donkey Kong is in the middle of the stage on two vines, and he is climbing up this, kind of like Donkey Kong Jr. climbs up two vines, but he's a lot bigger. He's like, you know, a big fixture in this. And the conceit is that you are Stanley the Bugman in a greenhouse protecting 5 flowers down at the bottom, kind of like you're protecting cities in Missile Command.
That's right. Yeah, you can win if even only one city is standing. It's just that was a bad level, lower score.
Yes. So there are several ways in which you can, and Donkey Kong smacks a couple hives on either side of the screen to release a bunch of insects that are going to be flying around, and there are different insect types that come out of there. And what you need to do is the major goal is to shoot Donkey Kong and make him climb up to the top of the screen and push him to the next stage with your bug sprayer. But you can also beat the stage by killing all of the insects that are in the hives coming out. And you can lose a bunch of different ways too. You can lose by getting killed by the insects that are coming down and trying to steal your flowers. You can lose by all of your flowers being taken, and you can also lose by Donkey Kong basically having enough time to climb down because you haven't been paying attention to him.
You know, what happens if he does that? Is there an animation, or does he just land on you?
Oh, no, there's an animation. It's pretty brutal.
Wow. Because I've seen you lose, because like it's an arcade game, you're going to lose, but I don't think I've ever seen you lose to Donkey Kong.
Yeah, because it's fair. I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, you just keep blasting all the time.
Yeah, it happens, but it's rare.
Okay.
Because the game gets really frantic in the later stages, and that's why I call it a time management game, because there's a lot of stuff going on that you have to manage in order to stay alive.
By the way, is this like classic Donkey Kong, where it reaches a point and then the game loops?
Yeah, I think it might have a kill screen.
Okay.
I don't think it has a final level or anything like that.
Okay, because Donkey Kong, the original, has a final level, but then the game loops.
Yeah, and this game also has 3 different stages that it loops through.
Okay.
So the first stage is pretty normal. It just has 2 platforms, and then you hop up. And there's like, that one's very easy. And then the second one actually has an unlimited amount of insects coming out of the hives, but it has a bunch of different a bunch of worms coming from side to side, blocking how you're pushing up Donkey Kong. That's a very easy stage, and actually can give you a little bit of a rest. That one you typically don't lose during. It's the third stage that's very tricky, because the platform is all spaced out strangely. So
well, it's almost like the last level of the original Donkey Kong, where as you win the stage, you're making it more difficult to navigate, because you gotta jump over stuff, and if enemies come by, you're like, oh, but I gotta jump to avoid them, and now it's a whole other thing.
Now, I could play this game very well. I could get the highest I've ever seen is like in the 900 millions.
Damn.
I've gotten to the 600 millions.
Jesus.
So just to give you an idea, so that means I'm pretty good at the game.
It's pretty good.
600,000. I'm sorry. And 900,000.
Well, now I'm far less impressed.
Well, shut up.
I'm about a third impressed.
But
or half, I should say.
I love this game a lot, and for the longest time, all we had was the NES version. There were a couple weird, arcade ports, but I only ever really liked the arcade version because of how snappy it was and that kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, like with Donkey Kong, the original arcade, it had a level that the NES version didn't. Was there a difference like that with the NES version, or is it just not as fluid as the arcade version?
Not as fluid, and it was the arcade version was vertically oriented, so like it looked different.
Yeah.
Whereas the home version was horizontally oriented.
Right.
So I would say that the NES version was actually pretty decent, but I just really like the arcade version that much that I don't even want it compromised at all. So anyway, very great version of this. I will still love to play it with the original joystick and everything, but I played a lot of it over the weekend, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely pick this up if you're willing to give it a chance. People made fun of it back in the day and still kind of made fun of it because the main character isn't celebrated at all, except for maybe he was in one Game & Watch game besides this called Greenhouse. And
this guy just never leaves his damn greenhouse.
And he was a trophy in Super Smash Brothers, one of the Super Smash Brothers games. So
yeah, that I can easily see. That's just one of those really funny trophies because it exists. Like, remember Stanley the Bugman? Like, who the hell?
Yeah, exactly. But if you like shmups and would like something a little bit different than your normal fare, with some extra elements into it, I really enjoy this game. It's so much fun. I'm not gonna say that everybody's gonna like it, but if any of those elements sound good to you, this game has a lot of depth, and more depth than most games of that era. I think it's an 83 or 84 game. It almost has the amount of depth of a Stern game from that era, which have a ton of depth. If you ever
obviously it has depth. Look at how vertical the screen is. It's so tall.
Look at the vector lines in the background with the appearance of depth. But anyway.
Oh, did it have that?
It does have some wireframe thing going on in the background to give it to make it look like you are in a greenhouse.
Well,
nice.
It's drawn with pixels, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but
Commodore actually had some 3D games.
Rockin'.
Yeah,
like Castle Master and
Crystal Castles.
for Last Eclipse or the Eclipse. I don't remember that game. Like the title, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So moving on, this is also a pretty cool surprise. So Konami's been in the news a lot lately because of the collections that they announced. And one of my major complaints of the Konami arcade collection that's on its way out is that they didn't have any early games from their early catalog. Looks like they rectified this. It looks like Arcade Archives has announced that they're going to be releasing some of their Konami's early hits. So the first one they announced is Time Pilot, with others to come. So Time Pilot's a fantastic game. Our friend Perry, it's his favorite arcade game.
I was just gonna say he loves Time Pilot.
Yeah. It is not an unusual choice in the slightest. It's really a lot of fun. It's almost like probably the way I would describe it is kind of like Asteroids mixed with Defender. Is probably how
I'm thinking
I would
more
describe
Defender,
it.
but you do have stuff that just keeps coming. Although eventually you get a boss type enemy and you kill it, and then you disappear and level 2 starts, and it's a little more in the future, like you're catching up to the present until finally you're fighting like UFOs and stuff, and then the game loops.
Yeah, so they end up in 2001 against UFOs, which is
a little on the nose. But
remember 18 years ago when we were battling UFOs?
Yeah, I was gonna say, remember the future of 2001? It's like Demolition Man. It's like early 2000s.
One of my favorite animated films was damn it, who was that?
Wreck-It Ralph?
No, who was that count who was always telling high tales?
Oh, Baron Munchausen?
Yes, Baron Munchausen. And like one of his stories is going to the moon.
Yeah, our Robin
people.
Williams is there, right? Yeah.
I don't. Not the movie. There was an animated version.
Oh.
And in the animated version, like when they're sitting in the future, the time damn it. What's his time paper? What is that? Would you call it?
Time traveler?
No. What is it that the words always keep escaping me? The date is 1997.
Oh yeah.
I love stupid stuff like that.
Absolute current.
Like a Jules Verne kind of thing, you know, like they thought that like back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, how advanced it was going to be in like only 100 years. It is very advanced, but not like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Time Pilot is a good choice. Hopefully that means Puyon and Yi Kung Fu and Scramble and Frogger are all going to make it at some point. I hope, because those are all really great games. And I hope they go in the other direction. I hope we get some Sunset Riders finally. You know, the arcade version of Sunset Riders. I would love to see.
That would be
Mystic
amazing.
Defenders.
I guess Konami realized that
they should be making games.
Pachinko machines are not paying.
I bet you they are.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on from there, let's see here. There was some other cool stuff. Oh, Nintendo just put out brand new updates for Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. So this just goes back to how much these games are as services for them. They add tons and tons of content and features without needing to, which is really neat. But they're adding a VR mode to work with the new Labo coming out pretty soon. So that's really neat. So they're adding VR modes for both of those games. They're two probably most prominent games on the system. So really cool stuff.
Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yep.
It's a bit interesting thing to add. Like I don't remember any third-person game that had VR. Like VR mostly a first-person thing or first-person thing.
Well, speaking of which, this isn't a VR thing, but I remember a joke game that somebody released, which was like Sonic the Hedgehog in first person, and whenever you jumped, it would have a first-person like. You're spinning, and it was like actually nauseating, but that was the joke. Like the game's like unplayable unless you have a stomach of steel. It was amazing.
I think it's more like kind of like the Mouse is a pretty popular game, and that really is kind of a third person game. You're controlling a mouse. It is first person in a way because you're playing a character that is controlling the mouse, but you're moving the mouse around and it's in third person, so I'm just gonna say it was Mos or whatever. Yeah. So that game is really cool. It's like playing as a mouse in a diorama. So I assume that it's gonna look kind of like that for those games.
Speaking of things moving in the diorama, I could easily see something like Captain Toad getting a VR treatment in regard, like a similar regard.
Yeah, that would be really cool to play around along with the depth. Maybe even Fez would look really neat as a VR game.
Fez is not 3D. The problem is that Fez is based on sprites. There is no 3D.
Kind of.
It's sort of the illusion of 3D.
Yeah, but I mean, like some of the best stuff in VR has been sprite based. If you ask me, I think it looks really neat that way. Like for instance, Virtual Boy Wario Land is a really cool looking game. Because of the way that they layer the sprites. So I think that it can work.
Like what I heard and saw, like the VR games I would like to try is the VFR. Do VFR?
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
and what's the other?
I want to do Super High.
Prey has a VR mode as well, a VR only mode. And I think Wolfenstein's has one too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, moving on here. This is a really cool thing. So I really, really, really hate limited DLC. I think it is the dumbest thing. One of the shittiest things you could do for customers.
So amiibos then?
No.
Yes.
I think if there's a physical good tied to it, I understand, right? But if there is DLC or digital content that is, first of all, like, there's a time limit to it, or you can
pre-order only.
Pre-order only. Fuck that shit, man. Like, I think that's the worst. You have Doc Lewis's Punch-Out that was that way. You could only get that if you were a My Nintendo Club member. Another one is the way that they're handling this Darius collection.
You mentioned that before, yeah.
Yeah, with the Darius 2 for Game Boy is locked behind that. Screw that kind of stuff. But anyway, Capcom is making good on the one that was making people upset for them. So when you pre-ordered Mega Man 11, you got an additional optional way to play the music in the game, which would be orchestral versions of the songs, and apparently they were really, really, really good. To the point where a lot of people were preferring playing the orchestral versions instead of the electronic versions, which were the default. Unfortunately, the only way you could get it was by pre-order. So they are actually giving everybody it for free now.
Nice.
On all the different services. So if you
pays off.
I'm sorry.
Patience pays off.
Yeah. But here's the thing: they didn't tell people this, so it would be one thing if they said, "Hey, just wait 6 months and we'll get it to you." People wouldn't be so mad. It's like 6 months of begging them, and then they finally do it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The thing is, DLC stuck behind a pre-order is a dick move, just because it's like saying you better pay full price for this game, or
and
else,
you don't even know whether it's good.
For a used copy. Yeah,
you don't even know whether the game's going to be good or not, especially
that's when you try exploiting the system by pre-ordering the game, redeeming the code, and then canceling your pre-order, and then buying the game 2 months later, which is a dick move, by the way. But fuck you for hiding it behind a pre-order.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that happened like this recently. Ace Combat 5.
You said it. When 7 came out, an earlier game was.
5.
Temporarily tied to it. It was 5.
Yeah. So the PS4 version of 5, which is a PS2 game, is it's a PS2 game. The only way you could get it is by it was to get that game within the launch window, and there's no other way to get that version of that game. And it's up-resed. It's not even a normal PS2 Classics game. They actually have higher textures. For all intents and purposes a remaster. It has better quality assets than the original game, and you can't get it any other way. It stinks.
Good game though.
Yeah, great game, and that's why it stings. This is a good thing. I hope other companies limit the way that they do this, because I think it's shitty. Because how else are you supposed to get this stuff and keep up with it? Sometimes you might not even know about this stuff. I didn't even know about the Ace Combat thing until after the game was out. Thankfully, they were doing the launch window thing for that. So, anyway. So, this goes along with this discussion. Namco Bandai delisted Mr. Driller for PS1 on the PS3 and Vita and PSP store. So you can no longer buy that as a PS1 Classic game in North America. You could still buy it from the Japanese store, but this stinks. Why? Why'd you delist it? That stinks because that's a good game. I don't know if either of you have played Mr. Driller, but
nope.
Is it that type of game where you have to go down continuously and you can destroy blocks with the... I played iterations of it in Flash form.
I gotcha. It is a really good game. I really enjoyed it. It's very difficult the further you get, but I really enjoyed these games. Probably the really best version of that is also delisted at this point because it was on the Wii. Apparently, the creator of Mr. Driller said that his favorite version, the ultimate version of the game, was the WiiWare version. So that's a shame because that's a good title, and I don't see a good reason for it being delisted. They must not want to pay the $5 to keep it on there or something. But that should also tell you that this can still happen to some of the games on there. So if you are thinking about buying some PS3, PS1 classics right now, I have a couple that I still in the back in my head that I want. I really like the Namco collection games, Namco museum games. So I should go ahead and buy those finally. Let's see here. Enter the Gungeon got its update, and
Yep.
It is also half off in almost all of the places in which it's offered as well. So definitely pick it up if you have any interest in playing this game at all. I believe even on PS4 they're offering it. So if you want to get that, Lotus, it's time for it. It's $7.50 on Steam right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good time to buy this game. I don't see it being much cheaper than that. And the game is complete now. So, do you already own it?
Yeah, I have a physical copy.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. So that should be updated for you then. Dracologist, you've been playing that a little bit, right?
No, I don't have it, but I do have some acquaintances on Castle Saturn who are maniacally playing the game. I actually watched someone's stream of it. It was very pleasant.
Yeah, this is, like I said before, yeah, it's $7.50 on the Sony store as well. It's probably $7.50 on the Switch. I've been playing it on Switch, and I've loved it ever since it came out. It also has a really great two-player mode, a really great co-op mode. This is simply one of the best roguelites out there. I'd have to, like, there are very few that are better. Definitely pick it up if you have any interest in this kind of thing at all. I'm not usually a huge fan of that type of game, but this was so good that it kind of got me into them. So I kind of like this type of game now a lot more because of it. So definitely pick it up now. It is a complete game. You won't have to worry about waiting for more updates other than patches, that kind of thing. There's not going to be much any more content really. So they're going to move on to their next game. But fantastic. You really should pick it up if you have any interest at all. Because and there's tons and tons of stuff to do in it. This could be the only game that you play for a good year. Just like, Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a very good game to stream.
Yeah.
It's a very similar game. It combines sort of a little bit of bullet hell with sort of a lot of dodge rolling and...
Yeah, that was the thing. With Isaac, there were a couple of bosses that had bullet hell gimmicks, but the game overall was not a bullet hell, whereas Gungeon kind of is, especially like every boss.
Yeah. So, but this game also is a lot more forgiving than Binding of Isaac, except for maybe the last level. I think there are a lot more ways to get out of being hurt in this game than Isaac is. Plus, it's more built around the concept of being a bullet hell, whereas Binding of Isaac kind of just turned into having elements of that.
Well, yeah, like all of a sudden the game was updated to like Rebirth, and then patches came in, and then you have the boss Hush, and I'm like, I've never seen Hush before, and it has moves that just are bullet hell, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I was playing a bullet hell game this whole time, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a why not thing, really. Well, It Lives was very bullet hell-ish.
Kind of, but like Hush really pours it on.
I can't wait. Still can't wait for what was that? Redemption.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically the Afterbirth.
Yep.
Not Afterbirth.
Yeah, Afterbirth.
No. Antibirth.
Oh yeah, that's right. The mod. Yes.
All right. There are a couple of games being released on the Nintendo Online service for the Switch. Nintendo is releasing the original version of Super Mario Bros. 2 or the Lost Levels for NES, which is pretty cool. This is North America.
Here's a question. Is this the first ever time they've released the NES version? Because North America got the game, but it was part of the Mario All-Stars collection.
Good question, but they released it for the Virtual Console for the Wii and maybe even the 3DS.
Okay.
So, but yes, it's rarely been released in that form. You are correct. Really cool. And the other game is being released is the famous shmup Star Soldier, which is one of the most popular shmups in Japan of all time.
Do you know where he goes for vacation?
Where?
The Star Tropics.
Yeah, I wish I could have ignored all of that. But yeah, Star Soldier is a fantastic game, and it's really cool that you'll have a way to play it online. This is really cool. I don't know whether you guys saw this, but Sonic 3 AIR was released. This is a fan game. Did you guys see this?
No, I had not.
Okay, this is really neat. So this is a fan game that is essentially an HD remake of Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was called Freedom Planet.
Hey.
Heyo. But yeah, this is really cool. It displays Sonic 3 and Knuckles in native widescreen.
Nice.
Instead of something like a stretch. Allows you different soundtrack options, like whether you just want the Sonic 3 music, whether you want the Sonic and Knuckles music, and also the level arrangements.
But does it have Launch Base Zone with Bill in it? That's my question.
Probably not. But
Bill.
It adds some features that were also included in Sonic Mania, as the way that Tails behaves can be selected in that game. So it has a wide variety of options, modernized options, and looks really neat. There is a caveat to this, though. You need to have purchased Sonic 3 and Knuckles on Steam in order for it to work properly.
Oh, that's fair enough. That was kind of like that huge Deus Ex, like original Deus Ex, like sort of HD texture project, which came free if you had Deus Ex on Steam. Like, it has to work somehow.
Yeah, the creator didn't want to be labeled as advocating piracy because he loves the games that much. So he wanted you to have a legitimate PC version of the game.
But the thing is, like, just like Deus Ex, though, these games are freaking old. Like, what is it, like $1 on Steam? Like, how much could it possibly cost for Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah, it's very cheap. If it's still listed, that may be the only way that you could buy Sonic and Knuckles at this point. But yeah, actually you could buy it on Xbox 360 and play it on Xbox One now. But Sonic and Knuckles is not published currently, really.
Okay.
So it may Sonic 3 and Knuckles is $4.99 on Steam. Yes.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah. So it comes as a full version of the game, though, which is cool.
Yeah, nice. Because I was gonna say, like, I have Sonic's Mega Collection on PS3, but it doesn't have Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It has Sonic 3, and it has Sonic and Knuckles, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So this will cost you $5. The game is good to begin with.
It's brilliant.
And you can also download all of the Steam mods as well. They have Sonic Complete, Sonic 3 Complete on there, and that also as well. And
yes.
The mod that turns every character into Knuckles. It's called Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles.
Knuckle sandwich.
Knuckles and knuckles and knuckles and knuckles.
Yeah. So
can you make every song in the game Pumpkin Hill from Sonic Adventure 2?
That might be a mod.
And I search and I search and I search and I search.
But yeah, the mods are quite robust as we know, and you can play them all through the Steam version.
Nice.
And without with Sega's blessing as well. So
that's fantastic. Sega is pretty laid back in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah, no, they usually support you unless you want to make money off of it without their blessing.
Yeah, like I mean, we've mentioned this repeatedly before, but the Streets of Rage fan remake, Sega turned a blind eye to that until they started asking for donations. But something must have been worked out, because you could download that game now. Yep.
And the new Umahara Kawase game, which is titled Fresh, just got a gameplay trailer, which is really cool. This is a cool series. We don't have enough time to go into it in depth, but you are a cute sushi chef girl in a weird, bizarre
it's like a platformer where you go fishing?
Well, you have a fishing rod, and you attack fish that are walking around on platforms.
Oh my god, it's Gyo! Get it away!
But yeah, the conceit in this is that it was a really cool game that had really unique physics for how you swung around with your fishing rod. It's like a grappling hook. Functions like a grappling hook.
Is it almost like then, like kind of like I mean, you could jump normally, but is it kind of like Bionic Commando?
I would say so, but also with more rubber bandy kind of stuff going on. It's stretchy.
Okay.
But yeah, you have the idea. The original game was on the Super Famicom and has since gotten two sequels, and they are all three of the games in the series are on Steam currently, and this fourth one will be as well. So,
also,
really
she's
cool
a playable
series.
Fighter in Blade Strangers.
Yep, and will be in the puzzle game as well. I think she'll be in the puzzle game that they're releasing. And this is a final bit of news, because this is brand new news that just came out. The Psycheo library of games, which had been being released by ZeroDiv. This includes the Sengoku shmup, the
Wait, do you mean... I might have this wrong, but when you say Sengoku, are you referring... Mm-hmm. You don't mean the Neo Geo game, do you?
No.
Okay, because that was like a beat 'em up.
No. Sengoku Canon, Sengoku.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a series of shmups. There was Zero Gunner 2, Gunbird 1 and 2. Yeah, they're all really good. They make the Strikers games. You saw me play the Strikers 1945 games.
Oh, maybe.
It looks like 1942, but it isn't. It has mechs in it. Yeah. So all of these games were bought by a company called City Connection, which is pretty neat, because this means that they'll probably have better support. ZeroDiv was good, but they're probably going to run out of games to release at some point, because they're very close to it.
Yeah.
So, City Connection had put out the Game Tengoku re-release very recently. It's called Game Tengoku or Game Paradise. It is a game where it was kind of like a parody game that was on the Sega Saturn, but they came out with a re-release of it for the PS4 and Steam recently. And what's cool about that game is it's a big celebration of Jaleco characters and Jaleco arcade games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a really good, great game. So it sounds like they're partnering with a company that'll have some more resources, which is good. ZeroDiv still has not released the last two games that they were apparently doing for the Switch. In the US, and one of them isn't even out in Japan yet. So it's being physically released in the Psycheo Collection Volume 3, and that is the biggest game that people have been waiting for is Strikers 3, or Strikers 1999, depending on what territory you're in. That game has never been ported to anything other than cell phones. So people were really waiting for that. So hopefully they'll facilitate this being released in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, just one quick little plug, actually, going back
Sure.
to April Fool's jokes, because I played a couple myself. One of them was that, I've made it quite clear that I like Resident Evil on my YouTube channel.
Wait, what?
I know. Some people weren't ready for that revelation, but it's true. I like Resident Evil. And the funny thing is I came into it late. Like, I didn't play any of it until Remake in, 2003, 4, 5, or whatever it was. But, because when Resident Evil 2's Remake came out, I had tons of comments going like, oh my god, when are you going to LP this and everything? So, on April 1st, I uploaded a video called Resident Evil 2 Part 1, Let's Play, and I just held my handheld camera in my hand and just recorded myself playing the tutorial scenario of the board game. So I was like, yes, board game exists! Also, this is not the remake! The other thing was...
Disappointment.
More like freaking awesome. And the other, probably actual disappointment, even though I don't know if people are really that disappointed, was that night, instead of streaming 428 Shibuya Scramble like I usually do, I streamed Battle Monsters, and I fucking beat it.
Nice.
On easy mode, and even on easy mode I had to spam because I'm not good at fighting games, but I beat Battle Monsters, and what blew my damn mind is that 3 people in the chat immediately were like, oh, this game! I'm like, are you really? Why do people know about this?
I just don't know fighter games, so I couldn't know that again.
But how does anyone know that one? That's so that's a weird one.
Because the world is a wide and broad place.
Yeah.
You can meet a lot of people out there.
The music in that game is actually kind of alright, but basically everything else is hilariously bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other last thoughts before we move on and finish everything, guys?
And that's it for me.
Okay, so we'll wrap up for this week. We will continue discussion on Thursday with Corrective Consciousness, of course, where we will be discussing the recent easy games or difficulty discussion that's been going on with a lot of people with a lot of different things to say. And I think this is a really cool topic. I think I kind of identify with a lot of aspects of this, so I think it'll make for a good discussion. We'll go into that on Thursday with a new episode of Corrective. So that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness and YouTube and SoundCloud pages. I mean, if you're coming to this every week, why wouldn't you subscribe to it? Come on. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, Battle.net, and the Epic Game Store.
Battle.net? Can I play you in Warcraft 2?
Actually, I would really like that. We should do that. That's not even a joke.
I'm going to use codes, so get ready.
Codes?
Yeah, you think that game didn't have codes? Think again. Anyway, you can follow me on my YouTube channel.
If you just want to kill me and not have any fun, sure.
Yeah. Look at how easily I won when I just bullshitted everything. So you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, like Kingsfield US, baby, or selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting involved in a discussion on Discord with me and other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And Dracologist?
You can find me on Steam, you can find me on Skype, and you can find me on Discord at Lair of the Crocus World, and now recently on... Well, not that recently, or Castles at Orban.
Nice.
Wonderful. Well, we'll catch you everybody on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.